Alright Rangers, so I am working on this ski here. We're going to get the edge glued on this side. It is glued on already, so let the glue dry. We will trim these right off at half, and then we'll glue the other side on and then trim that to meet it. And then we're going to move over and start working on the ski core. This one is already done, and so that steel edge to the base is already mounted on there. That's the snow side. And the wood core will go on here for our ski sandwich. So above the base and the steel edges, we have a layer of fiberglass. Then we have wood core, and we have another layer of fiberglass, and then we have a top sheet. So it's base, fiberglass, wood, fiberglass, top sheet. And so we need 2 wood cores, one for each ski. And so last year we glued up a bunch of wood together, and now I'm cutting it into 1/2-inch sections for the ski core. And then that ski core also gets tapered down, and so it's thicker in the middle and thinner on the edge. And so once I get these 2 done, we'll put them on the CNC and taper those down. So that'll be our next step. We got to cut one more out, one more for this set of skis next here. We used to buy these cores, but this year we had some trouble with one of our manufacturers, and so I'm just going to make some or use some of the ones that we made from years past. That's a poplar core, vertically laminated they call that, because the grain is going this way and then we're cutting it crossways. Anyway, that's our core. I'll get the next one cut. So now we got both cores cut out, and they're about 1/2 inch thick, and this is our base. And so what we need to do now is make a spot for the sidewalls. So if you look at the ski you got cut in half here, you can see we got the wood core in the middle, base on the bottom, and we got that white on each edge, which is the sidewall, then our top sheet, and again fiberglass in between both of those. And so we need to cut that. So what I want to do now is take it over to the CNC machine, use the same file that we used to cut out the base with the drag knife, and cut out the side profile on this side and the side profile on this side, and inset this sidewall into the core before we profile it down. Shouldn't be too tricky, but that's our next step here after we get these things ready for the CNC. Alright Ranger Gunboarders, we are working on this ski here again today, and so we got the core I was showing you in the last video. We got our base, sidewalls. Over here you can see on the picture maybe, so those slots on the left and right, we got to cut those out so that in the core we can fit both of these sidewalls. So we're going to cut a slot with the CNC machine for the left side and a slot for the right side. The parabolic shape is a little bit exaggerated here, but we'll glue those in, and then we'll profile the thickness of the ski once those are in place. The tricky part is to make sure that those line up exactly with this. So that's why we're using the CNC machine, because we use that to make the shape. So I was just able to offset those edges a little bit in, a little bit out, and hopefully those sidewalls end up centered, a little more inside, but enough that it covers the edge and gives a nice clean sidewall. So we're going to give that a try next year. Alright, so we set the Z-axis to here so that the Z00 is on the table, and we've got the X and Y axis set to 00 in the middle of the board. I've got 2 extra pieces of wood to keep a little tension on the bottom or on the sides, and I also put a screw on the end to make sure that it doesn't move left to right, because again, this has got to be super precise. Make sure this is all going to work. Alright, so the first one is done, the next one is right next to it. We're going to cut that one next. Alright, so both are cut out. What we're trying to get is to have that pocket just be a little wider than our base, and so that that sidewall sticks out a little bit when it's pressed, and then we can trim that off with a router when we're done. So we got these just about perfect, and so now we can glue in the sidewalls to let it sit, and then tomorrow we can profile the shape. All right, Rangers, now we are going to fill these slots. We're going to coat those in with some epoxy, and then we're going to set the bars in there and let them set up. Alright, so those are all epoxied in, and this one had kind of cut through the wood on the bottom a little bit more than the other, so I needed a few extra clamps on this guy. This one, the wood was still solid, so I could just kind of lay it in the trough and just clamp it down a little bit and hammer it in. That one went in pretty good. So tomorrow we will run them through the sander, get them cleaned up so that we can run them on the CNC, and we'll keep the middle about 1/2 of an inch thick, and the ends will go out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. And so it's going to give it that up and down profile. That will be the next step before we start our layup. Alright, so the sidewalls are all glued in. So we need to sand this out, or at least one side out, before we go to the excuse me, to the CNC router and profile it. So we'll take this out of the clamps here next. So this is the inserts. And so for the binding mounts, they go in there, and then, so this would be the bottom side because the mounts go from the bottom, and then they come through here. And so his base would fit on this core just about perfectly like this. And then what we want to do is, kind of like with the ski, we need to put that sidewall about 2/3 over the steel edge, so a little bit of plastic sticks out and the rest of it is sandwiched in there. And so we need to make a new cut that's about 6 millimeters inside this outside edge, and so that when we glue those sidewalls on, to go. Now, when we do this, we won't do a trough. We'll just cut out the perimeter and we'll actually glue it right to the edge, because of the way these cores are already pre-assembled for us. If I was going to do my own, I would still do it like a ski, but we actually buy these cores already pre-profiled, so you can see it gets thicker. Anyway, so back here with the snowboard, one method is to trace it out and then offset it back about 6 millimeters and trace it again, and then cut it with a bandsaw and then sand a nice clean edge, and then you can glue your sidewall on. So not quite as accurate. We could run the CNC program like I did with the skis and offset that in 6 millimeters, but as thin as it is, that's kind of risky also. So it's kind of, I don't know, I think I'm going to use the CNC because I could always turn this into a smaller snowboard if I have to, if it doesn't work well. But I have two different bits that I can use. One is an up spiral and one is a down spiral. Most of them are down spirals, but this one, up spirals. This is a down spiral, so as it goes down, it's going to actually force the wood toward the table rather than lifting it up. And so this is going to be our best bet for cutting something so thin without any collateral damage. So we'll give it a try here. All right, so now we're going to put those in, and they should stick out about 3 millimeters past. And so they are ready to get glued onto the core while we make our snowboard sandwich. Alright, so now we are going to run these bad boys into the sander here to get them cleaned up. So the skis are sanded. The top side just going to get all cut up anyway in the next pass, so I just got the bottom side cleaned up so we can put that on the bottom, and then we'll run the CNC over the top to get it down to thickness. You can see it's still all about 1/2 of an inch thick, and so we need to make it kind of like the snowboard core where it's thin on the ends and thick in the middle. Snowboard core is about 7 millimeters. We're going to go for about 12 millimeters on the ski core because they're quite a bit thicker. So we're going to put it in here, and we're just going to go back and forth, and get this shape done on the skis next.